Hi guys, and welcome. Today I am joined by Holly Moore. Hi Holly, how are you doing?
Hi, I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, very well. Well, look, Holly was the first apprentice in the UK. She works at, or legal apprentice in the UK. She works at ITV and she's the founder of That Law blog. And we are talking today about all things personal brand and law. I mean, I think I was saying to you just now, I thought that I was quite up to date in the legal profession. You know, I thought that I understood how people train, and clearly not. I'd never heard of legal apprentices until I came across you.
Mm-hmm.
And I had no idea that there were all these, not all these, but certainly apprenticeships. I'd never heard of that. And that's what, 5 years ago you started. I
Mm-hmm.
want to talk about apprenticeships, but I'm not going to right now. What I want to understand from you is what got you started with That Law blog? What was it that made you go, that's what I'm going to do?
So yeah, I started That Law blog less than a year ago actually. So started in August 2020, sort of as in between lockdowns. And I think it was something that really came to the forefront of my mind in the first lockdown last year, because that was kind of a turning point in my career. Like, even though I had been an apprentice for 4 years at that point, I'd had it in the back of my mind that maybe I'd like to start a blog or a website or some sort of mentoring, something to kind of get more involved with the legal community, and build a personal brand, as we're going to speak about. But I just never did it because I thought I had so many thoughts in my head that I didn't know how I would brand myself or what did I want it to look like, and I wanted to have it all figured out before I started it.
Yeah.
So
what was it that made you go, oh, I want to start a personal brand or a blog? Like, was it just something that you'd seen, you thought, oh, that seems like a good idea, lots of people are doing it, or was it something else? Yeah.
No, I had no idea that there was like a big legal blog community, and there really is. But I had no idea about it until I got involved with it. So I think from the beginning of my apprenticeship, where I was the first sort of in-house solicitor apprentice in the UK, it was quite a big deal at the time. And I was interviewed by sort of the Times and like big newspapers, big legal magazines, things like that. And
wow.
did interviews for the Law Society and all this stuff. So I think I always felt that because I had sort of trailblazed this new route to qualification, that I felt sort of a responsibility to share my knowledge and my experience and to help others then coming through the same route, and to help other companies and say, like, look, this is such a great route. Why don't you think about doing the same and taking you know, young adults on, 18-year-olds or older, and taking them through the same route, because I've loved it. And I think a blog was probably the best way to do that. I figured out 4 years after. That was sort of the best way to tap into that community, because you can, you know, with LinkedIn, I've always been very active on LinkedIn, but I didn't feel that was the place to blog kind of my whole experience, because no one wants me all over their LinkedIn feed every day.
Yes.
So I came to Instagram and I started looking at other people's legal pages and thinking, okay, so that's what they do, but how could I do it my way? And what can I bring that's different? And I didn't find many apprentice blogs. I found a few, and I'm now really great friends with them, actually. And so it's nice for me to network, but also just share my experience and my knowledge with everybody. So yeah, that's what I decided to do in August last year. And I just thought, I'll learn as I go. Nothing's going to be perfect. I'm not sure exactly what I'm going to do or say, but the main aim behind it is to help people to make informed decisions about their careers. So it's not necessarily to say we all should do apprenticeships, you know, they're for everybody, it's the best way to qualify. Kind of, that's not what it's about. It's more being aware. Like, as you said, you didn't know what apprenticeships were, and a lot of college students, parents, companies don't know what apprenticeships are. So by allowing people to have that knowledge, I'm helping them to make informed decisions early on, rather than the amount of people that have come to me and said, I wish I knew about apprenticeships because I wouldn't have gone to uni. I would have tried to get an apprenticeship straight away, or I wish that I knew about this other route because I could have made a decision better for my career. So that's
so interesting, isn't it? It's like the diversification of the opportunities And, you know, when we first spoke, I was saying, first of all, I was surprised at how little I knew about these new options. I was surprised, to be honest. And also this idea in my mind that I'm quite dynamic in my, I feel that I'm quite a dynamic lawyer, but clearly only just in the way that I work. But there are these new ways, and therefore that kind of makes me think, well, actually, you probably need to have a more look at these different ways of working. I mean, when you were mentioning it, I was like, oh, friendship seems like a good idea. What do you think it was? I mean, I know you're speculating, but what do you get the impression it was with ITV that made them go, that's what we're going to do? We're going to bring on an apprentice. And what is it with what do you find about ITV that makes that actually a success?
So I think with ITV, probably the reason, I mean, I've spoken to people about this sort of internally, and the reason that they wanted to do it is that, one, it was brand new, and ITV, you know, forward thinking, they're always sort of looking at new ways to innovate and things like that. So I think the head of department at the time, who played a huge role in sort of my first couple of years as an apprentice and helping me through and giving me guidance, he was a real sort of pioneer for the apprenticeships, and he was all over it and really passionate about it. And I think that came across both in the assessment days and the interviews I had with him. And that attracted me to ITV because I knew that they would be really on board and they weren't just doing it as a box ticking exercise or just because they felt they should. Like, they genuinely thought this would be a great thing to do. And that's kind of, I haven't changed my mind on that the whole way through. Like, everyone I've met has been so supportive, and if they didn't know, they wanted to know what I was doing and why. So I've had a really, really great experience, and you know, I hope that all other apprentices have that experience as well. And I think the thing that attracted me to ITV was like the creativity and the amount of responsibility that I would have and be allowed to have, especially in-house. I mean, in-house, there's like a huge variety of work. So I thought, wow, like the amount of things I could get involved in over the span of 6 years and the amount of departments I could work in, I would qualify, I feel like, the most well-rounded lawyer ever. So that was what attracted me to them.
I think it's so interesting. And I think, ITV, obviously they are creators. That's what they do. You know, they are bringing creative content to the world, aren't they? So I guess it's the original social media platforms. Kind of what I see TV as.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm gonna come back to apprenticeships in a minute, but I'm really curious about a few things around your blog and the connection with ITV. Not necessarily the connection, but why you didn't start your blog at the start, and when you started it, what was it that triggered it? And then a third question, sorry, I will remind you of these if I can remember them. The third question is, what do they think about your blog?
So I'll start with the most recent question. So I've sort of spoken to my mentor, my managers, and they're so like happy that I'm sort of doing it.
Right,
and
that's good.
They've said, like, you know, go for it. If you want to share your information and help other people, like, this isn't sort of the first time that I've done it. So before this sort of comes on to why I started the blog, over the first 4 years, I would get involved with every event, write every article, do every interview that came my way about apprenticeships, because I was like, this is what I want to do. I want to help other people, and you know, I'm the best person to do it because I'm doing it, and the best person to give advice about it. And I'd go into schools and colleges, and I just thought, because I felt like the best person to do it because I was more relatable to younger people and to people looking to do this route. You know, some lawyer who they have no idea from what firm, or you know, they don't care, they'll come into the school and they'll spout their sort of whatever they say, and the kids will be like, okay, but how does that apply to me? That doesn't help me on a personal level. But I felt as though I could connect with people on a personal level, and because I'm quite open, I sort of would just chat for days about it. And I never thought about starting my blog right at the very beginning. I think because I was just so occupied with everything else that I had going on. I was like, right, this is a massive commitment. You know, I'm 18 years old. This is six years of my life. I'm going to be a qualified lawyer. Let's focus, like get straight to work, learn everything you can, do your degree, get the best grade you can, you know, like I was just focused on that end goal, and I didn't think about other opportunities or anything like that I could tap into. But the sort of turning point for that was last summer. I graduated with my law degree and moved into the training phase of the solicitor apprenticeship. So I think at that point I was like, you know what, this is the right time, because I can now document my final 2 years of my apprenticeship, give my views already on the 4 years, everything that I've learned, help other people who are in their first, second, third year through that, because it, you know, it's difficult at times, help them through that difficult time, and document something that no one's really ever seen before. So I thought that was the right time, and I think I felt secure enough within myself and my experience and knowledge that I felt comfortable sharing it like that and taking on that responsibility. But I never thought that it would be anything sort of, not as big as it has become. I'm not saying it's huge, but it's much bigger than I anticipated. I thought it would be a couple of hundred people, young people. And
what was the moment when you went, I know when you did that first video or post, how did you feel beforehand?
I was so nervous.
Yeah.
I was so nervous because I was reading what I'd written and I was like, is this how I want to portray myself? Is this genuine? Is it me? Because I didn't want to be that person who, you know, just wrote something generic and,
right,
you know, people would scroll past and be like, oh, another one. You know, I didn't want to be that perfect person, because one, they don't exist, and two, that's not me. So I went over it again and again, and I ended up just drafting a first draft of introducing myself, who I am, what I do, and what I want the blog to be. And I haven't read it since, actually, so I hope that I've actually fulfilled what I did want it to be. And I just posted it and went for it. And I think overnight, I started following all sort of my favourite blogs, and overnight I had like 300 or 400 followers straight away.
That's amazing.
Wow, like people are genuinely interested in this apprenticeship route. So yeah, it just made me really excited, and I think that motivated me then, because I knew that people wanted and needed this information to then go ahead and just start creating all this content. But it's been a learning experience for sure, for someone who has never done anything like this before.
Yeah, I'm really curious about that learning experience as well, because for me, I mean, what I was saying to you, I was talking about reputation before, and I think, well, I'll tell you my thoughts and I'd love to hear yours. I think there's something about the legal profession not wanting to share too much. There's a kind of like, oh, don't want to mention that, shouldn't say that. There's certain things that kind of get put in boxes. Oh, I can't say that. I can say that. Oh, I'll just talk about. And most people I know that therefore in the legal profession are much more willing to talk about specific legal issues, because they can't get it wrong. It's almost like I can't get it wrong if I just say that. And I know I felt the same in just doing my first video, and you know, I definitely don't post like you guys like you do. But for me, it's that sense of like, oh, should I? Oh, the thinking process or the thought process of fear that goes around. And if I did that, then this. But oh, and maybe it wouldn't be. No, I tell you what, I'll leave it. And that, it's interesting, isn't it? And then we see other people doing, think, oh yeah, well, maybe I should have done that then. Yeah. There's always that element of regret. Is there anything that you have thought, what was I thinking? Why did I do that? Have you? I know Brené Brown talks about the vulnerability hangover, and I love that phrase. Like, have you ever had that vulnerability hangover after you posted something on social media?
You know, I'm not sure. I think I've worried about having that vulnerability hangover, and thinking like, oh, am I going to post this and then regret it? And once it's out there, it's out there. You know, like that fear, because it's real. Like that fear is really real. But I haven't actually experienced it. And I think I've spoken, you know, I've been very vulnerable on my Instagram. And if I'm having a hard day, like yesterday, I put up a kind of host of stories saying, you know, I'm having a tough day. And it's not, every day isn't perfect and easy. And I don't just like fly through things. I'm not like so productive every day. But I think that's so important to actually to do that and to share. If I'm going to share my journey, I want to share the good, the bad, the ugly, all of it. I don't want to pretend that it's easy and then influence somebody else to then do the same on that premise, and then they get there and realize actually it's really, really hard work and it's not as easy as it seems, because I'm only showing the perfect side of it and I'm portraying myself as that person. So I think it's really important to me to be vulnerable, and there's been times when I've thought about things and thought maybe I shouldn't, and all of that whole thinking process. But things like talking about mental health is such an important thing. And I've done a post on mental health, and I've struggled with anxiety and things like that. And so many people have. And, you know, a majority of lawyers, if you've seen the sort of these statistics on it, a majority of lawyers have struggled with mental health problems. It's such a difficult profession to be in, and it's so demanding. But yet, why don't we all talk about it? No one shares that. Everyone wants to seem as if they're the strong one, they're perfect, you know. I can work all the hours under the sun, I'm not going to burn out, and if I do, you're not going to know about it because I'm not going to share it with you. So to me, it's really important to share all of that and to be honest, you know, within limits. I'm not going to share anything that's damaging or anything like that, but I want to be honest and open and authentic with my journey.
It's so difficult to know. And I think that's the fear, isn't it? You don't know what's going to be damaging. I heard the distinction earlier today, like it's private versus personal. Like personal is essential, private is not. And I think a lot of it comes down to, at least my view of Instagram. And again, I mean, I should know better than to listen to the mainstream media, because often that's where my perception can come from, right? Around these, you know, like younger generation, and it's all about the gram. We've been talked about, like stunting for the gram is the phrase you use. People stunting for the gram.
Yeah,
it's so easy to get that confused with what is actually happening in reality. It's not about what I heard you say. You said this to me when we first spoke. You said, I felt that it was important as a good person, or something along those lines. Like, for you to share of yourself was not an egotistical, like, I just need to be in front of here, but it was an educational. It was wanting to support those people who were in the same position as you, that hadn't had the opportunity, or that could now have the opportunity to be mentored by somebody. Admittedly, you might only be 4 years ahead of them in terms of what you're doing, but you had more knowledge probably in the entire country of how to go through this space. And so for you, it was, I want to reach as many people as possible. That was the sentence, that was kind of sense that I got from you. And do you feel like you've done that? Like, what is success for you in your blog? What's success for you in your career? And what will success look like? Tell me about that.
Well, that's such a good one. It's
a big question.
So for my blog, I think success in terms of that is just helping anyone. You know, I haven't got goals in terms of followers. You know, I couldn't care about that. I really couldn't. The only thing that followers mean to me is that I'm able to reach a wider audience and spread the information more widely. Like that's great. That's amazing. And the amount of people that kind of message me and say, I had no idea, or you've really helped me. And I've had in the last few weeks messages saying, thank you so much for mentoring me. Thank you so much for putting out this information, because I've just been offered a solicitor apprenticeship. And that makes me so happy that they've been able to do that with mine and others' support. And it feels good to be able to help others in that way, just from my knowledge. You know, it's not anything extra that I'm doing. I'm literally just writing my knowledge down and putting it out there for people to use as they need to. So yeah, I think success is just carrying on as I am, and just if I can sort of give anyone information about something that they need help with, or just to make people feel as though they're not the only ones sort of struggling through, or they're not the only ones who, you know, come from a disadvantaged background. I'm from a very working class background. I don't have contacts. I don't, you know, the whole premise of the legal profession, you know, my dad's a lawyer, this and this. I'm not any of that. And I feel like people find it quite relatable. So that would, success is just carrying on, I think, as I am. I don't have any massive, goals for this apart from that. And, we spoke about this already, but in my career, my life, I think success is just being happy and comfortable with where I am and feeling in my job mentally, physically challenged, and being able to have that progression, because progression is such an important part of my journey, and it will be, because anyone who's worked with me and anyone who knows me always knows I'm always on the next thing. I'm always looking for the next thing. What's it going to look like? What's it going to be? Even if I don't have that idea in my head, thinking, I don't have a ladder that says I'm going to do this, then I'm going to do that, then I'm going to do that, with time limits and things like that. But I'm very much, okay, my degree finished, now on to the SQE, then I'm going to qualify next year. What am I going to do after I qualify? How is my progression going to look? Where's my career going to go? And it's constant thinking about that, but that stimulates me, and I think that's success, being able to even have that opportunity to think about that. So for now, I would say I am successful as I am. I feel happy, I feel challenged, and I think I just want to maintain that throughout my career and just see where I go and see what happens.
I love this, Holly, and I don't know, of course I wouldn't know, but I don't know whether this is what you've just described. To me is balance and a really healthy, like, push and pull feeling of like, I know you're a competitive person. We've talked about sports, I know that's kind of you, that you've got that drive in you. I was similar, but for me it went off into the extreme, right? I was the sort of person, I'm quite black and white thinking anyway. I just hear what I hear in when you talk about success and career and where you want to be and mental health. I think, I just hear colour and context in where you want to be, and it feels exciting rather than overwhelming. Like for me, I think I felt like, right, got to do that thing, then I've got to do that, and I better do that within a year. As a result, and I do believe this, I think the less intense and less serious it's got to be, the easier it is
100%.
to do things, right?
Yeah, I think I don't want to restrict myself, because if I feel restricted, I know that I'm not going to reach my sort of full potential, and I don't know what that is. So I want to be able to let myself just follow wherever kind of life takes me on my career, and take the opportunities that are given to me or that I find or make, and see what happens.
Where did you learn that? Because I'm not sure I got the memo the day that, I mean, I know I'm a little older than you, but it's I don't think it's just an age thing. I think it's I can't even tell you what it is. I don't know whether it's nurture or nature. I don't know whether it's different schools or different ages, but you just sound like you've got a huge amount of wisdom in you. Where does that come from?
I don't know, because when I started my apprenticeship, I thought black and white. I thought the same as everyone else. I was like, okay, so I'm going to do my degree, then I'm going to qualify, then within 5 years I'm going to be a senior. Just not necessarily realistic. That was just my goal, and that was like, right, then I'm going to do that, then I'm going to be retired by this age, and blah blah blah. And I'm just, now I think maybe it's working in-house and working with so many varied people from varied backgrounds that have taken not straight line routes into their career. Maybe that's what has prompted my sort of change in mindset, or maybe it's just me maturing, because when I started my apprenticeship I was 18 years old. I wasn't a child, but my brain wasn't fully formed in terms of like being an adult and making those career decisions and life decisions. And I think, I've just worked with some incredible people that have inspired me and that have kind of made it clear to me, like, your career is yours. You don't have to follow a certain set route, or you don't have to set a route for yourself. As long as you're happy where you are and you want to progress, these ideas will come to you, and they'll, your career isn't always going to be up the ladder. You could go sideways, you could go sort of even backwards. Like, anything that makes you happy in your career is where you should go. That's what you should do.
It's as
not
if you've
about
got,
money, title, status. Like that is the least of my worries.
It's interesting because I suspect you've had some, it sounds as though it is, there's probably a natural element as well to the way that you naturally are, but it also sounds like your ability to be around different role models and people that are not feeding you that it's got to be like this, it's got to be like that. And there is also a different, I remember you were asking about, or you were kind of mentioning this idea of mental health and many people having mental health issues. I consciously remember thinking, do not let anybody know you're having any problems at all, ever, because that will be a sign of weakness. Even tiredness, like considering yourself to be tired. I remember working 72 hours straight without sleep. I mean, it was no badge of honor. Well, you know, mentally there was a badge of honor in doing that. I fell asleep I mean, this is the irony. I'd worked 72 hours straight. I was exhausted. I put my head down on the table because I couldn't keep awake any longer. And that was when the partner on the other side walked in, and I felt such shame.
Yeah.
I could laugh about it now, but honestly, way into my 20s, I was not able. I was probably in my late 20s then. Way into my early 30s, I probably was unable to kind of get past that. Oh my God, I should never have done it. So I just love that we've got this whole different way of working.
I mean, that's not, you know, I just think that's so toxic that people sort of promote it though, like, you know, and then people like you and me and others feel as though, okay, that's the benchmark, that's where I've got to be. I've got to be able to do that and work 72 hours straight and not burn out. And, you know, that's not the normal, like that shouldn't be the norm. And I think even, you know, personally, I work long hours. Like when I was in the office studying for my degree, working, you know, trying to build my career, I would leave my house at 5 a.m. I would get in at 7. I would study for 2 hours before everyone else got in. I would stay late. I would study my lunch break. I would study on my commute. I would put all the hours in, so many hours, and I would do really long days, but that wasn't me advocating to other people, or that wasn't me benchmarking myself against others. That was me saying, this is what I need to do to get to where I need to be. And I wasn't competing with anyone at that point, thinking, well, they get in at this time, so I need to get in at that time. Or I've heard that you need to do this to be successful, so that's what I'm going to do. It was what happened at the time.
That was definitely my motivation. Like, all right, okay, what are they doing that? Okay.
Exactly. It's like paranoia.
And it's not, there's no self-care around it, or recognizing actually that's probably not what actually has to be done. And I do remember people saying, you don't have to be the last one here at night, but I felt that it was. I had that message was somewhere getting lost. Getting lost in translation. You have talked about, and I do admire this, by the way, the 5 a.m. starts. I was going to ask you about time, because I know that's probably changed somewhat over time. Your way of managing time has changed. How do you make time for all of this? And I'm going to add a little piece in there. How do you make time for this? And because social media in itself, creating videos or doing whatever, that's incredibly time consuming.
It really is.
And the thinking like, hey, I should maybe. How do you make time for that? And do you only do it when you feel like it, or do you go, right, no, today I'm up, let's do it?
So in terms of time management, I think that's a natural thing. I've always been good at time management and prioritizing, making sure that I can get everything done and handling things. I think it has sort of evolved over the last 5 years now. But sort of consistently throughout the 4 years, I would be doing very long days, but it was necessary and it paid off. You know, I got the grade I wanted. I got my degree. I've had amazing experiences. But I think I did give up a lot during some of that time because it was necessary, and I had to prioritize work and I had to prioritize study over social life and other things, you know, things that I wanted to do. And I had like silly rules for myself, like I wasn't going to read books for fun until I'd finished my exams. So I had maybe like a 4-week period between finishing 1-year exams and starting my next year where I would like read books for fun. So, but I was like restricting myself, and it was so ridiculous, but that was the where my mind was at the time. But I think in the last like 2-3 years, I've made a conscious effort to make time for myself and to have that work-life balance with things like playing football. It takes up a lot of time. I train between 2-4 hours a week, and then all day Sunday is taken up with football. We travel sort of all over to play, so that's a huge thing, but that's important to me, and my physical, mental health. And you know, you have to have something outside of work. It's so important to be your own person, because otherwise I feel like you're defined by your job, and that's all you talk about because you have nothing else to talk about. And it's like, who am I? Am I just a solicitor apprentice, or am I actually a person with a personality and interests outside of that? So that's a huge bit of time management for me, just making sure that I have that time for myself. And in terms of making content, I mean, it's very time consuming. I don't think I realised how time consuming, but that's just become a natural part of my day now. Like I have sort of a routine on my stories where I'll put my plan for the day, and that's also helping because it's holding me accountable. I put it out there, and therefore I'm going to do it, and if I don't do it, my own problem, my own fault. But with, you know, sometimes I'll get the urge and I'll be like, I've got such a good idea for a piece of content and like something really helpful, so I'll make it and then I'll keep it for another time. Or so I've always got sort of these little backups, but I don't feel obligated to post, you know, every day, every week at a certain time. If I don't have anything helpful to put out there, I'm not going to put anything out there.
Which comes back to why you're doing it in the first place, isn't it?
Exactly. It's quality over quantity for me. I think I'm not just going to post a picture of me for the sake of it. Like, who is that helping? That's not helping anyone. No one cares. So I think it's just making sure, and also taking into account what other people want. Like asking, what would you find helpful? Because, you know, I could be making content and they're like, oh, I've seen loads of that, I don't need that. So it's making meaningful content. It does take the time, but I think it's worth it to me. It's important to me.
So you're an apprentice.
Yes.
You're a law blogger.
Yeah.
But you could say, is that a label that you would use, law blogger?
Yeah.
Would you consider yourself to be an entrepreneur?
See, I don't know. I don't think I would consider myself yet an entrepreneur, but I think that's what I would probably like, maybe one day, to consider myself that. Because I think it's because my blog is so personal and so surrounded around kind of me as a brand, that I don't feel like I've created a business of sorts. Maybe that's what
I guess you're not selling anything, so it makes sense.
Exactly.
Yeah, it makes sense to me that because you're not selling anything and it's not money related, that it's not entrepreneurial. And I have this thing when I'm looking at blogs, but I actually, a lot of what you do has got that sales and marketing, right? It's got marketing, which is you're putting out content marketing, literally.
Yeah.
Your product is you. You are your personal brand, and how you work and the way, and then that is, it may be that you're not selling it for money, but there is an exchange, right? Because, I really got this sense of how the entrepreneurship comes into that personal brand piece. If I wanted to become a personal brand, so I'm not, I know I make this about age only because I've been around a little while in the legal profession. I may not, when I was 20, I don't think anybody was really on LinkedIn like they are now. Certainly there was no Instagram. What would you say to people about making that personal brand, being that label, creating that label for themselves? Is it for everybody, or is it just for a small few? What would you suggest?
I think it is for everybody. I think everyone has their own personal brand because you are your own person. Therefore, you are a personal brand, but it's how you develop it. And if you want it as well, kind of some people just are not interested and don't want it, and that's absolutely like valid. Yeah. I think the thing for me, the things that I focused on when I was sort of developing my own personal brand was, one, what is my like unique selling point? Now I do sound like an entrepreneur, but
that's what I was saying when we were talking. You were like, oh, because my thing was apprenticeship. I was like, that's a USP.
Yeah, exactly. So
that's, you know, you are, everything you talk about feels very much, sorry, but carry on. Yes.
No, yeah, I agree. Like now thinking about it, but yeah, it was like, what is your unique selling point? What is your thing that you do or who you are that is different to other people, and what is going to attract people to...
But not everybody is going to be that first apprentice in the UK, right? So
that was my thing, and I was like, right, this is my thing. What knowledge do I have that other people don't have? That stems from the apprenticeships. But not only that, in-house, there's not enough information about in-house out there. Ooh. I wanted to raise the bar for that, and there's some amazing in-house bloggers out there now that I've discovered as well, and I'm like, wow, this is great. Like, they teach me things, and hopefully I teach others things. But yeah, it was about apprenticeships, about in-house, working in media, and also like just balancing everything. Like, how do I balance everything? Because not a lot of people do that, and not a lot of people can do that, I don't think. So it was about that. And then the second thing was about being authentic and being myself, because I think if it's a personal brand, it needs to be personal. Like, what is it about you? I'm not a robot, I'm not generic, and you know, I'm an oversharer by nature. Like, I just like to talk, and yeah, I can't help it. So I think that was huge for me, being authentic, and that was something that I've really focused on the whole time. And I think it comes across, and I think that's what attracts me to other people. So therefore, I think that's what attracts whoever watches my stories and interacts with me to my page. So they're the two biggest things. And you know, it's not necessarily about kind of aesthetics or anything like that, but I've taken that over into my LinkedIn profile as well. I've always been big on LinkedIn, and I think it's such a useful tool if used in the right way, and sharing kind of my updates and things like that. And I've always been very open about my journey and very honest, and interact with people, and had some amazing connections from that and some amazing opportunities as well. So yeah, those are my two things that I would focus on for personal branding.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, authenticity is probably the essence of the Instagram culture, isn't it? I mean, I say the social media culture. People want real. They want to know, and they want to know real whether they love it or hate it. It's just, I want to really know truth. I want to know what really someone's about, or what the situation is really about, because it's all very well. I really love audio and video. That works for me. And reading something, I don't quite get the same sense. But when I can see somebody's facial features and I can see whether they genuinely enjoy it or not, that to me is like, yes. I feel more connected in that. Wow. I mean, you're doing an amazing job, and I'm so excited to see what's next for you, because you've got a year left, just over a year left.
Yeah, just over a year.
Do you know what that's going to look like? Because I get the sense with you, and I bet you your ITV boss will watch this and be like, yes. I get the sense with you, it's going to require a challenge to keep you where you are. Like, do you agree? Like, it's going to require something to go, yes, I want to get my teeth into something. And what would give you that? What do you think is next for your blog and for you as a lawyer?
It's such a difficult one. I think I've been thinking about this for 6 years. I've been thinking about this before I even started my apprenticeship. I'm like, what's my career going to be? Like 10 years, what am I going to be doing? But in all honesty, I'm just looking forward to that whole process, like looking forward to the whole qualification process. And you're right, like, I want to be challenged. I want to be somewhere where I feel like I can use my skills, everything I've learned. And you know, you want to be in a workplace where you feel valued, and I get all of that from ITV. I'm challenged, I'm valued, I'm work with incredible people, and you know, the work is varied. And I think, you know, I can't at this point put a stamp and say like, this is exactly where I'm going to be this time next year, because you just don't know. But I think, you know, for the moment, all of my boxes are ticked, like what I'm doing, and I'm super happy with all of that. So, I mean,
isn't that a really lovely thing to be able to say? Right now, I heard satisfaction. Right now, I feel satisfied because I'm challenged. Like, you're not at the end. It's not like you feel weary. Oh God, I got another year to go. Or
yeah, exactly.
just get me to the end. Like, you're creeping through the desert. You sound satisfied and switched on and energized by what's going ahead.
100%.
Open to what the next steps are. I think this blog is going to be even like whatever you didn't look at before, or whatever you weren't expecting before. I expect that you should expect more lack of expectation.
The thing, there's so much that goes into it though, because it's like, it's so exciting. Like, this is a whole next step of my career. Who knows where it's going to take me? Who knows where I'm going to be, what I'm going to be doing? Like, it's exciting to think. It's overwhelming at points, but it's exciting to think about. And like with my job, with my blog even, it's now thinking, okay, so my USP was being an apprentice. In just over a year, I'm not going to be an apprentice anymore. I'm going to be a solicitor. So
wow. Yeah.
what's after this? Like, where are we going to go? What direction am I thinking? And I'm probably, I can imagine, going to focus more about the real life of a lawyer, because there are a lot of law students that blog. There aren't a lot of qualified lawyers that blog. And showing the real life of an actual qualified lawyer, and, you know, having those difficult conversations and difficult things, like, how do you progress within the legal profession? How does that work? You know, it's not just getting a training contract or an apprenticeship. What about after? Like, where do you go with this? So I think it's about exploring all of that and just showing sort of an insider view into sort of my life after qualification, whatever that looks like.
I'm excited. And I'm so glad that we've connected now, because I feel like there's something about your journey that helps my journey. Even though I'm further along in a career, I can look back. Someone was talking about it earlier, like 360 degrees mentoring. I feel like in learning from you, I'm like, that's so interesting. Yes, I can learn that. I can embrace some of those elements, and then hopefully, you know, I'm a big fan of mentoring. Hopefully then you can impart that onto other people.
Sure, yeah.
Who do you learn from at the moment? Who's your favorite, either law bloggers or other bloggers? Tell me about them. Who do you like to learn
God,
from?
there's so many. I can't choose. There's so many amazing bloggers. So there's one blogger in particular who I feel very like connected to, very similar to, and she is amazing at like the information that she puts out. And she's called In-House Potter. Her actual name's Emma, but she's an in-house lawyer and blogs about her journey, and she's qualified as well. So it's great for me to see sort of the next step in her career and how she's getting on with things like that. So that's really helpful for me. And I just love I love looking at other people's journeys that are different to mine, because that's just interesting. I like to see like what everyone else is doing. So I love looking at sort of trainees and their blogging. I like looking on LinkedIn. I love to see like, oh, that partner works there, and that's the sort of work that they do. Or, oh wow, that partner's just like posted a really personal LinkedIn post. Like, that's interesting to see that change might be happening. So I think, you know, I just like looking at everything and reading everything. I'm so nosy, which I think is it's a really good thing to be when you're a blogger, because I'm always on other people's pages like, oh, what are they doing? That's interesting. I like that.
That's the sense I get with blogging. Not that I get the sense that people get interested, and it's not about competition. It's about collaboration. And a lot of people go, oh yeah, I like what you did there. That's of interest, rather than you're some sort of
It's like no sort of I haven't experienced any negativity, because it's all people that ultimately, I think a lot of us want the same destination. Like, we all want to be lawyers, we all want to be qualified and successful, but we've all got our own backgrounds, our own journeys, and we're all sort of doing it slightly differently. And, you know, where we can help each other along the way, then we do. And it's such a nice kind of community to be a part of, which is nice to hear about social media, because I think it's given a bad rap a lot of the time for good reason. A lot of negative things can come out of social media, but I think through doing this, I've seen actually a lot of positive things can come out of it as well.
Have you ever had, I was going to ask if you've ever had negative comments, but I think that's a stupid question, because I'm pretty sure you would have. Are you ever affected by any negative comments is a better question.
Do you know, in all honesty, I haven't had many. And I think that's just so indicative of the sort of audience that I'm trying to target. Right. I'm not trying to target people like that. And, you know, they always come out somewhere. Like, I've had maybe a couple of messages saying things like, you know, are you qualified to be given this? And then I'm like, I don't really know anyone else more qualified than me, but yeah, okay. But I think, you know, you just get them, delete, block, move on, whatever.
Yeah.
But there are certain things that, you know, I've made a conscious effort to stay away from, because, you know, no one wants the negativity. No one wants, like, I'm not going to seek it out. So there's things like TikTok, which for me, that's another, like, it's a newish, I suppose, social media platform. I'm not on it. I don't plan to be on it, because the amount of negativity I've seen stem from that, I'm not going to breed that and attract that to myself, my journey, or anyone else. So I'm just like, do you know what? I'll stay here.
That's such a mature attitude. I'd be like, right, I'm gonna get on. I recently got onto Twitter, which I know is, you know, super old school. Recently got onto it, and it was only when I came off it again, I was like, that's really quite a negative platform. Yes. It's like, it's very, you don't realize when you're in it. It's the mental health thing, isn't it? It's like you're in it and you're just like, why do I feel so bad? Oh, wait a minute, that's probably not very helpful for my mental health.
100%. And I think there's all these people, like, even on Instagram, people portraying this perfect life. And, you know, I could do it, anyone could do it, and say, you know, I get up at 5 a.m. every day, and then I go to the gym, and then I do this, and I'm perfect. But what they don't see is the breakdown halfway throughout the day, and the burnout at the weekend, because I can't do anything else, because I'm, you know, overwhelming myself. And it's very easy to get sucked into that sort of perfection culture where everyone needs to be perfect, and then you start putting content out like that because you feel like you have to compete with others, and that's, like, absolutely not what I want to bring at all. And I think so many other people feel the same. So I feel like there's a big movement on social media at the moment, on LinkedIn as well, where they say, like, look, bad things happen to everyone has bad days, embrace it,
tell it real.
So you have to keep it in and not tell anybody, like you said at the beginning, like, you can't let anyone know your weakness, you can't let anyone, you know that you're tired, that you're having a bad day. And I felt exactly the same when I started my apprenticeship. If I was having a bad day, I was like, suck it up, get on with it. Like, you're never going to be a good lawyer if you can't, like, get through a day on 2 hours sleep and things like that. And it's damaging to young people especially.
And that's how change happens, is start talking about, you know, they say you're as sick as your secrets. When you're able to say things and you share things, and then you realize that person has that, you as well. And then I think that's how the rise of these things are so powerful. I feel like, great, thank you so much for joining. I want you to tell people how they can connect with you. Tell us about where we find you. What are the links that most are important? And share a little bit more so we can follow you in your journey.
Okay, so, well, there's not that much to go off. So I've got Instagram. So my Instagram is That Law Blog. So you can find me there and have a look through my posts and, you know, see if you can learn something. And my LinkedIn, I'm quite active on LinkedIn. It's just Holly Moore. So quite easy to find me. Yeah, I'd love it. Love to connect with people.
Excellent. Well, I'm looking forward to people watching this, and if they're not already, make sure you follow Holly. For me, this is a bit of an eye-opener. It is me thinking, I'm in that kind of, I'm seeing things differently, and I'm seeing law differently. And then when I talk to you, I'm like, there's a lot I can learn. I don't know it all. There's a lot I can learn. So I really just appreciate you taking the time to talk to me on Friday afternoon.
Thank you for having me. I've
it's really good. I'm looking forward to watching this back as well.
You too, yeah.
Thank you, everybody that has watched. You can like below, You can share, subscribe on Navistar Legal, and I'm sure if this is a short version, then you are happy to share. Please do. Join us again. We will be talking to various different people in the law and the business arena and kind of bringing those two together. For now, thank you so much, Holly. Appreciate your time. And yeah, looking forward to seeing your progression through your career.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Here you go.